1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Mike Hedding here, coming to you today with the old classic song Red River Valley in the key of G. The song has a great old melody and is a really good study piece on taking the basic melody and then creating a series of complex or more complex solos on top of that. And that's what we're going to do for this lesson. Solo number 1 is going to start with the absolute basic melody using all downstrokes. We're going to focus on our tone and our timing and really counting out that basic melody. For solo number 2, we're going to look at, okay, this melody has a series of longer notes. We're going to look at filling those up with alternate picking, which is a really good technique because you can still play the melody and you can fill up those longer notes that maybe don't feel quite as comfortable on the mandolin. We can fill that up with some longer or some alternate picking is what we're going to do for solo number 2. And then solo number 3, we're going to basically kind of add some bluegrass ornaments. We're going to move up the neck a little bit to some higher positions, add some hammer-ons, add some slides, maybe get just a little bit further away from the melody, but basically how I would play this melody in a bluegrass mandolin style. I'm going to break down all 3 solos note for note and then show you also a bunch of backup I would do for this song. So how to do 2-finger strumming through all the chords, how to do bluegrass chop chords. We'll break that down as well. If you're watching the preview of this lesson, you can head over to my website, MikeHeddingMusic.com, and grab the full lesson. You'll get access to watch all the videos, and you can download the tabs and the practice tracks. Alright, here's Red River Valley in the key of G. Alright, let's start breaking down this basic melody to Red River Valley in the key of G. Let's start by playing the first 8 measures, and then we'll start breaking it down. Here we go. Do that a couple times. 1, 2. One time really slow. 1, 2. Alright, so let's start with measure 1. So it's just going to be the pickup to the solo. So we're going to start on beat 3. We're going to play the open D string. And for this basic melody, we're going to do all downstrokes with our pick. Okay, we'll add some up and down picking later on in the lesson. But for the basic melody, we're going to start with all downstrokes. So on beat 3, you can count 1, 2, and then we're going to play on beats 3 and 4, 2 quarter notes. We're going to play the open D string, and then our 5th fret on the D string with our 3rd finger of our left hand. So we have 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 is how we're counting it. 1, 2. And then for measure 2, we're going to go up to the 2nd fret on the A string and play that note for a half note, so 2 beats. And then that note 2 more times for 2 more quarter notes. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's put those together. So we have So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you're having trouble with the timing of that half note, what you can do is play it as 2 quarter notes, get the timing, and then take it out. So you have 1, 2. So we're going to do that half note followed by 2 quarter notes rhythm a bunch of times. We're going to do it in measure 3 as well. Play the 2nd fret again for another half note on the A string. and then open 2. And then for measure 4, open A string, and then the 5th fret on the D string for a dotted half note. So a dotted half note is 1.5 times a normal half note. So a normal half note is 2 beats, so 1.5 of those would be 3 beats. So that's where you get the dotted half notes. You have 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's do that. Let's do the first 4 measures. So we have 1, 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do a couple more times. I'll count it and then I'll do it without counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because the timing is really important. If you have the pitches right but the incorrect rhythm, it's not going to sound like the song. So let's do it one time without counting. 1, 2. And then you're going to let that ring out till the end of measure 4. And then we have 2 beats and we're going to play our same pickup, basically the same as measure 1. Open 5 again. And that basically sets up the next melody line. So you're doing that pickup in measure 1 and measure 5. It's the same notes. So let's do that again. So we have... And then we're going back up to the 2nd fret. So probably the trickiest part about measure 4 and 5 is just making sure you give it enough time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And that'll be easier going later on. We'll fill that up with more picking. But this is good counting practice to get the basic melody down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And then measure 6, back up to the 2nd fret of the A string for a half note. And then back down to the 5th fret D string, do 5, 2. So that you can keep your first finger down on the 2nd fret. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's do 5 and 6 together, not too hard. 1, 2. And then 7 and 8, 5th fret on the A string, so move your 3rd finger to the 5th fret of the A string, half note. And then walk down the notes, 3, 2, open. Same timing, a half note followed by 2 quarter notes. And then measure 8's a long whole note, so 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do 5 through 8. So we have... And what I want you to practice there is in measure, 6 and 7. You're right here, you have this finger down. Keep your first finger down, and then you're going to add these notes, and don't do this. I'll do it incorrectly first. Don't do this where you're lifting up all your fingers. Keep this one down. See how I'm holding this finger down? That's basically like my anchor. It's a lot less work if you go than doing it this way. You know, because you're having to go right back to that note, so don't lift that one up. See how it sounds choppier as well. If you keep this finger down, it really kind of smooths everything out, so. It also keeps you in position so you're not moving your left hand more than you need to. So that's good practice there. So that's into measure 8, open A string, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then measure 9, we're going to play that same half note pickup on beat 3 and 4, or 2 quarter notes rather. So the first 2 beats is a rest, is what I meant. And then we're going to walk down 5, 3 on the A string. And then 2nd fret, half note, followed by 2 quarter notes. And then 2 open. Same rhythm in 11, 5th fret, half note on the D string. And then open 2 on the A string. And then 5th fret. And then a dotted half note on the 3rd fret. So you have, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, a dotted half note gets 3 beats. So let's play 9 through 12. Very similar rhythm to the first parts. We have. Again. Another thing you kind of want to practice is basically keeping your first finger kind of hovering over the second fret, your third finger kind of hovering over the fifth fret, and your second finger kind of hovering over the third fret. You can see I'm trying to basically keep my fingers in this position. Resist the urge to basically, every time you move back or something, this kind of a common beginner mistake is every time you take a note off is to lift your finger way back or move way back here, and then when you have to go play a note, you have to travel that much further. So this is a good example of like keeping this finger kind of hovering over so you can, you're kind of staying in this position, and that takes a little practice to basically stay stretched out and not do this or not stretch out this way more than you have to. You basically want to keep your fingers hovering over the frets they're going to be playing. Let's do that a couple more times. I'll do it a little faster. Really slow. 1, 2. And then stay right there, and then let that ring out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and then on beats 3 and 4 for measure 13, second fret on the D string. So you're basically kind of going to this 2-finger C chord. You're going to play that note twice, and then open D string for a half note. 4th fret, 5th fret. So same rhythm we've been doing, a half note followed by 2 quarter notes. And then open A string, half note, 2 open, and then 5th fret, whole note. So again, a lot of that same rhythm, a half note followed by 2 quarter notes, a half note followed by 2 quarter notes. We did that pretty much almost the whole way through. So let's do it from measure 13 to the end. So you have And one little thing to practice there is that notice your second finger is moving from the 3rd fret to the 4th fret. So your second finger was kind of hovering over those 3rd frets before, but this time you have to stretch out just a little bit more. Okay, so that's into measure 16 is the last note of the basic melody. So let's play that whole basic melody. Here we go. 1, 2. Okay, so not too hard there. So now let's start from measure 17. We're going to look at that exact same melody, except we're going to look at filling up all the long notes, basically. So anytime we have a half note, we're going to fill it up with down and up picking. Anytime we have a dotted half note or a whole note, we're just going to practice filling that up with alternate picking. And that's really good practice because you can add more rhythm to your picking without losing the melody. Rather than just having those really long spaces, which is technically the melody, but that's more like maybe how you'd sing it or play it on a violin with a long bow. With mandolin, we don't have a ton of sustain, so one thing we can do is instead of just playing those long notes, we can basically fill it up with more picking. And that's what we're going to work on for the second version. Let's break that down right now. All right, let's take it from measure 17. So for this version, we're going to look at adding alternate picking. So on any of the half notes or the dotted half notes or the whole notes, we're basically going to fill that up with up and down picking. So let's look at that really quick. So let's get the rhythm down. So in the basic version, we were just using quarter notes, half notes, dotted half notes, and whole notes. We didn't use any eighth notes, but in this version, we are going to use a bunch of eighth notes. Let's get that down. So an eighth note takes up the place of, or 2 eighth notes take up the place of 1 quarter note, or 4 eighth notes take up the place of 1 half note. So instead of playing 1, 2, we're going to play 1 and 2 and. So down, up, up. And you can see the pick direction below the tab if you're ever in doubt. The staple-looking symbols are the down strokes. The V-looking symbols are the up strokes. So we're going to keep all the quarter notes the same, and we're going to fill up the basic, or the half notes, excuse me, with alternate picking. So we added one more melody note to the pickup just to make it a little bit longer. So we're going to play the same 2 notes, except we're going to start 1 beat earlier. We're going to play open D string on beat 2, and then 5th fret, and then open A string. Just gives us one more note to get into our melody. So not just to give you another variation. So you have, instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, now we have 1. So we're just adding one more note just to set it up just a little differently. You don't have to do that. You could also go back and play measure 1 if you wanted to. But that's what we're going to do for this version. So we have 1, and then we're going to play down, up, and then down, down. So we have 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Let's play measure 2 and measure 18 back and forth. If we're doing it correctly, they should be the exact same timing. So we have measure 2 is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll do it without counting. So we're filling that half note up, 1, 2, with 1 and 2 and. So then we still hear the melody, but we're just filling that up. So, and one other thing you could do is, if you wanted to make it a little bit more challenging, is you could slide into that note. That's also good practice. You'd have. So I didn't write that in, but that's very kind of mimicking a fiddle or a vocalist, where you're basically sliding into a note. So let's do it one more time without the slide. So 1. Keep your right hand really loose there. I'll do it with one more time with the slide. Keep your right hand moving whether you're doing that slide or not. And then measure 19, we're going to play 4 eighth notes again on that 2nd fret. And then open 2. And then open A string. And then for the dotted half note, we got to do 6 eighth notes. So 1 or 2 and 3 and 4 and. So we have